course, want to wish happy Father's Day to all the fathers here today who were good enough to take time out on their day to be here in satsang and lend their energy, time, and attention to the process of elevating one another's sadhana. I thought it would be perhaps useful if we would gather as soon as possible after last cycle of overnights. I believe everyone in here, mostly everyone in here, has spent some time either here or somewhere else reflecting and making a deep inquiry into the path and their relationship to the path. If there's anyone who has not done that as of yet, they should definitely engage those considerations. So we will use this occasion to try to process a little bit of that, as well as take it to the next level. Many of you concluded at the end of that inquiry that this indeed is the right path for you. Is that about right? I gave you ample time, encouraged you to really truly look at that. That's so important, isn't it? Yes. You don't want to waste your time, your energy on a path that is fundamentally not the right path for you. So I tried to outline some of the key aspects that you must consider to determine whether or not this path is the right path for you. No fooling. No kidding. We're not a club. It's not the House of Rock Club. We are striving to be a community of serious practitioners of the Dharma. And for those of you who decided after careful consideration that this in fact is the right path for you, then I pointed out to you that you must get down to business, if that is so. So today we're here to get down to business. My presumption is that you are here because what you wrote was true, that this is the right path for you and you're ready to get down to business. And the primary business on this path is abhyasa, practice. The primary business on this path is not talking, not debating, not philosophizing, not psychologizing. The basic business on this path is abhyasa, practice. And yet, you see, beloved, you will not engage in abhyasa and real practice until you have really, truly understood some very, very basic things that the gurus have claimed to be the truth about your very existence in this world. And until you understand that, then abhyasa is not possible in your case. One of the things I asked in the consideration, were you capable of abhyasa? Not whether you want to practice, that's a different matter. That belongs to the category of fantasy, wishful thinking. The question was intended to be answered very directly in terms of your abilities. Do you have the ability to do abhyasa? And that ability to do abhyasa fundamentally depends upon whether you have achieved some fundamental and very basic understanding about the way things really are in terms of the human experience and human existence. And if you have not understood that, then abhyasa is not possible in your case, no matter how much wishful thinking you do about it. So today we will also talk some about the basic understandings that you simply must have for the sake of engaging in real abhyasa. In the Radhaswami metaphysics, there are three basic understandings or views. They're called Drishtis. Views, things that you must see about the way. Views and the understanding based on those views are a necessary precursor to abhyasa. We've talked some about them in the past, but I thought it would be good to refresh your memory because it is easy to forget some of the things that have been discussed in satsang. We discussed so much. You see. The first view, Drishti, the first thing that one must become capable of seeing. Not merely seeing, because Drishti has a deeper connotation than the usual translation of the word as seeing. It is seeing based on experience, not seeing based merely on intellect and philosophy. That kind of philosophical and intellectual seeing is non-transforming. Except in the case of very high souls who are adinkering. More about that later. But for the usual and average spiritual aspirant, such intellectual comprehension is not enough, as you have seen in your own case, haven't you? You have intellectually understood the Dharma, but you remain untransformed, and your sadhana remains stuck at the same level you were at years ago when you first came to the back. And I have already pointed out to most of you here on an individual level that your level of sadhana that you're practicing at now is not going to result in any enlightenment in your case at all. Elevate your level of abhyasa. You must close that ideological gap that exists between the level of sadhana that you know it's going to take for you to become enlightened versus the level of sadhana that you are operating from. To do less than that is to simply perpetuate your own delusion. And I don't want to reinforce your delusion. That's not the function of our relationship. And it's certainly not the function of satsang. So perhaps that's the first drishti that you have to see. You have to see clearly that at the level of your present sadhana, beloveds, are simply deluded, self-deceived. Recently, Salakaji shared with me a very beautiful definition of delusion. A testament that some of you rascals are putting some energy into these definitions. Salaka wrote to me defining delusion as beliefs held in spite of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Beliefs held about yourself, about others, and about life that is invalidated by all of the evidence and the facts of your life. You delude yourself that you are devoted, and the evidence is all over your Kuru report that you simply have no devotion, no commitment whatsoever. So perhaps this is the first thing that you truly must see. The first Drishti, first thing you must truly understand is your condition that has brought you here to the path in the first place. You have come to the path because of the spiritual condition that you are in. You are not all right. You are not fine. You're not doing okay. You are deluded. And you simply must see this. You are deluded about many things besides where you are at spiritually. You see, after reading all these books, accumulating all this information, traveling through all of the different religious experiences that you've had in your life and so forth and so on, the ability to discuss these matters with great eloquence has resulted in your being deluded that you have made something like spiritual progress. You've made no spiritual progress whatsoever. And you simply must experience your delusion. Merely hearing me talk about it is not adequate. You must have the experience of being deluded. You must catch it. You must see it. That is the first Drishti. The first thing you have to see. The first view that you have to attain. And from that proceeds all of the other Drishtis that the gurus and saints and sages talk about as being absolutely necessary in order to engage in the abhyasa and to truly walk this path. The next thing the master says, beloveds, that you have to see, you have to experience as being so, as being true, is what they have called the Ba'ada Drishti. B-A-A-D-A. I know there's some scholars here who likes these technical matters. Ba'ada Drishti. What you have to see, beloved, what you have to experience, beloved, is the absolute uselessness and futility of your search for happiness in the realm of this world. And by this world, I mean in your waking state. You see, the Pinda realm is the realm of the waking state. In this waking condition that you see that in this waking condition, you are never going to ever find any happiness. Happiness does not exist in the waking condition, the realm of the And you must experience the truth of this. It's not enough to become lost in your rhetoric and your pronouncements about it. You must have the actual experience of the futility and the uselessness of your search for happiness within the context of the realm of the waking condition, i.e. in the realm of Binda. And this is basic understanding that you simply must have engaging in the spiritual process that is abhyasa. You must truly experience the reality that not only will you fail to find happiness and peace of mind, that which you are looking for, anywhere in the waking condition, and in anybody in this waking condition with you. You must also realize in the same way you are not the source of the happiness of anybody else. You must truly see that. You must experience it intellectually is not adequate. This must become experiential knowledge. The knowledge must become empirical. It must be based in and rooted in your own actual experience. Until then, you see, beloved, there will be no liberation of energy, time, and attention for the sake of the practice of abhyasa and meditation and the various other disciplines associated with this way and this path. Ba'ada Drishti, you simply must experience to the point of recognition the absolute and utter futility. Your search for happiness, peace, contentment within the context of phenomenal experiences arising within the waking condition. Pinda. This is not going to happen. And until you see it, you will simply always be engaged in that futile activity. Something to say about it before we move to the next Drishti? We have a little time. I want to make sure that we make full use of this gathering today. We must experience reality. The thing about a deluded person is that they're never experiencing reality. That's what makes them deluded in the first place, you see. By definition. But truly, beloveds, until you really have had the experience to the point of recognition, to experience this to the point of radical understanding, you simply will always find abhyasa to be problematic because you will already be priorly committed to your somewhere within the context of the realm and the phenomena of the waking condition. Now, this is simply so. Was that a question, beloved, or you are making yourself comfortable?
No, I just got a question. You
Yes.
said catch the delusion. Could you just kind of go into that a little bit for me?
You have to observe yourself to the degree that you're able to see and catch yourself acting out of your delusional presumptions, you see? You have to see it, you have to catch yourself. That means, beloved, you have to engage in the process of self-observation. And you have to bring great honesty to that process, you see. If you observe yourself, you will see your own deluded condition. You will catch it. So the answer is in terms of a practice, you see. And almost every question has its answer in a practice. Because the masters have realized the mere intellectual explanation is inadequate for the vast majority of seekers. They're not adinkering to the degree that they can profit from the Guru Vaka, the teachings, or the Guru Bani, the writings of the Gurus. I will talk more about that later. Yes, beloved?
Are we in a consistent state of suffering and pain and suffering? Are we in that state all the time, and we just try to make do with certain happinesses here and there, and that's what makes us smile or feel good? But to actually see that suffering at all times, are we there?
Well, that's the question I'm asking you all. Are you there? Are you seeing that? You see? It has more than a question. It has to be your confession, your testimony, that this is the case. You see? As long as it's, you see, beloved, a matter of philosophy. You see my point? Then that simply is a sign that this person is deluded still. It's like asking, do I exist? Now, what could be more delusional than that? But this suffering, you see, is the case. This is what the Buddha, Dharma, focuses in on, doesn't it, beloved? The reality of dukkha. Dukkha is your failure to you are searching for it, the consequence. And the result of that search and its outcome is always the experience of dukkha, misery. And this is what you must experience to the point of radical understanding. You've been experiencing dukkha, but you have not radically understood anything. You follow me? The mere experience of dukkha, you see, for an adinkaran person is enough. We will talk, as I said before, a little bit more about the types of seekers. Drishti, attaining the view of the absolute uselessness and utter futility of the search for happiness and peace within the context of the waking state and all of the phenomena associated with it. I'm talking about all of the people, all of the relationships, this whole thing of, that you call waking state reality, which is for you synonymous with reality. All of the things that you are doing within this condition, in this waking state, are useless, futile, and will not yield any lasting and any deep fulfillment and satisfaction. And until you have experienced this subtle understanding, you simply will not liberate any of your energy, time, and attention for the sake of Aryasa. In fact, in ancient times, the gurus would require that those candidates for initiation would have already have attained Bhagwan Drishti. Otherwise, they simply would not even initiate you. It would be literally a waste of time. They would not even give you no technique because you would never have time to practice it anyway. What would be the point? You are still deluded to thinking that you're going to find some happiness and some fulfillment within the context and the engagement with all of the various activities associated with the waking condition. You are deluded. The next, yes, beloved?
Yes.
radical understanding. It's a very, I don't know if I can capture it with words, but it's sort of like when you touch something hot, beloved, and you experience the pain and so forth and so on. That's a radical understanding of the nature of fire, isn't it? That fire hurts, right? And on the basis of that radical understanding, do you touch fire again? You do.
No, I'm saying no.
You do it with your head, with your body language was telling you. I was your intellect talking.
So, in other words, you're saying seeing both sides, seeing it both sides, seeing it both sides?
No, beloved. It's really that simple. It is really as simple as the understanding that fire, when I reach my hand into it, hurts. And I'm not doing that no more. It's really that simple.
But I'm saying sometimes pain is you don't do nothing.
Pain don't hurt.
I mean, it hurt,
but it doesn't transform you.
Right.
That tells you what level of a thinker you are.
Okay.
We will talk about it later. It's just not enough pain. And the antidote for such a type of individual is massive increases in the dosages of their dukkha until the pain produces radical understanding. They become a candidate for a different category of grace of the master, beyond the spoken word. I will come to that in a minute. Dr. Manji, you had something to say before I proceed to the next Drishti?
I wanted to say that in my experience, I had gotten used to the point where I thought it was okay and normal. And until I started looking at it, in my case backwards, the pain, what causes it, what am I trying to presume for, that initiated the pain. Could I really even see that it was there? I mean, it was the way that it was. It was just the way it was, you know, and I never even examined it. I never even.
Yeah. Yes, you see, beloved, the vast majority of the sutras, the vast majority of the souls, the jivas, have been so trapped by the Kali Purush. You see, their awareness has become so low that they are doomed. They have no discrimination anymore. They don't even know what real happiness is. They don't even have a concept. They have accepted pain as the only possibility for their life and living. That is what you mean when you said you have become content with it. You have simply accepted your enslavement. Like a slave on the plantation accepts the loss of freedom. That's how the vast majority of mankind is. It's not so much that, in as much as it is lack of vision. And they see this is all that is possible for me. Here's a life of suffering, pain, misery. But that's no life. They are the examples of individuals who have completely failed in their search to find happiness within the context of phenomenal existence, i.e. in the waking condition. They have failed. And now simply have accepted a life, misery, forever. Yes, sir.
Well, accepted a life of the world based on antidotes to sort of anesthetize the suffering by creating materiality things that will give you some sense of comfort.
Yes. Delusion.
Delusion.
Again, the classic definition that was shared by Savakaji, for the sake of all of you who are involved in the considerations about overcoming your delusion. Delusion is the belief that I'm all right in spite of the overwhelming evidence that you are fucked up.
Okay.
To put it in that you understand it, right? Hmm? It's delusion. And there's all kinds of ways that we maintain our delusion by having, I got a big car, I got a big house. Logically, I'm happy. You see? You can create logical experiences of happiness that is really not real happiness. So you do the drugs and so forth and so on. Let me move on to the next Drishti and we try to get some of the work done, and then we'll have a little time left and we can backtrack and unpack any nuances of the arguments that I am here to offer you today for the sake of the present level of sadhana. And remember, beloved, you simply must elevate your present level of sadhana. You must close this gap that exists between your present level of sadhana and that level of sadhana that it's going to take for you to become enlightened. You must close this gap. Two ways: to continue to delude yourself that such a gap doesn't exist, or you got to put in the work. And you must undergo the suffering, the sacrifices, and every other form of the ordeal that is associated with real abhyasa. No fooling. No kidding. But in no case will you find happiness with your present strategy. Mithya Drishti is the next kind of view that is based on the experience of how things really are, to the point of radical understanding. Acha, beloved, you have to understand it's only radical understanding that transforms you. It is only this radical understanding, rooted in this drishti, that releases the energy, time, and attention for the sake of avyasa. Without drishti, there will simply be no liberation of time, energy, and attention for the sake of spiritual practice. It simply will not happen. And it must be your experience. You must experience it. Merely hear and talk about it is not adequate. You've heard a lot of talk about it already. That's not adequate. It must become your experience. Mithya Drishti is seeing the unreality of this whole phenomena associated with the waking condition. To see its unreality. This you must see. Its impermanence. Nothing that you are experiencing within the condition is permanent and lasting. Everything is arising and it disappears. It comes into being, it durates, and it ceases. Astamu Sanatana. You must see the reality of death. And the death of every event, circumstance, situation, person, place, and thing that you are associated with in this phenomenal level of waking consciousness. Mithya Drishti. You must simply see this. Without seeing it again, you will not liberate any time, energy, and attention for the sake of avyasa. Not only will you continue the fallacy of the search for happiness within the context of the waking realm of consciousness, even in those moments of fleeting pleasure, you will try to cling to it. Won't you? And you will expend all of your energy, time, and attention trying to hold on to situations, circumstances, people, places, and things which are unreal in the sense that they are impermanent. That's done with something down. And you must experience your mere philosophical appreciation of that is not enough. This must become your experience to the point of radical understanding. That same radical understanding that makes you never reach your hand in fire. How much time and energy and attention will you invest in a phenomena, event, person, place, or thing that you know is impermanent and will only last a little while? You're simply not going to invest a lot of time and energy in it. Are you? If that's what you truly see. All of the projects you got going, beloveds, by definition, are going to end in failure. By definition. Everything that you're involved in is going to end. The destiny and outcome of all of your activities is death. And unless you're able to see this based on a profound experience of the way things really are and attain this radical and most fundamental understanding, you simply cannot engage in any yasa. You will not be able to free up the time, energy, and attention that you are devoting to trying to hold that which is impermanent. You will spend all of your time, energy, and attention, all of your life trying to perpetuate the existence of that which is headed for non-existence. Bless you, beloved. And until you experience this, then you will continually behave in that manner, you see. Someone telling you is not enough. It has to become your experience. You understand? See it. Recognize that this is so. This is mithya drishti, the view of the impermanent nature. The very kind of event, person, place, thing, situation, circumstance that is arising in the waking state of consciousness, the primary state of consciousness in which you are embarking on your pursuit of happiness. This is the state of seeking. Pinta. View of reality, or so-called reality, that is imperative for the sake of Aryasa. It's what in Radha Swami metaphysics is referred to as dosh, D-O-S-H, dosh drishti. Dosh drishti means you must simply see that you are the sole source and creator of the experience that happens to you. Period. You, i.e., your own conscious self, are the sole source and creator of everything that is happening to responsible for your own suffering. Nobody is making you suffer but you. That's not no sign of Dharma. You gotta see that. You gotta experience the truth of that. Want a radical understanding. Otherwise, all of your energy, time, and attention will be wasted in you trying to locate the causes of your unhappiness within the context of the phenomenal realm. You will always be presuming that others are the cause of your unhappiness and then engage in all kinds of strategies to reverse your experience with that individual. You follow me? I've talked about this on many past occasions, haven't I? Drishti is essential. You will be lost forever in this drama of human relationships, the drama of relationships. And that drama fundamentally is characterized by the presumption that other people are the causes of your happiness in your unhappiness. That's also a fallacy, isn't it? Necessarily following from all of the evidence that one sees when one truly have seen the first drishti, the second drishti, right? Paying ba'ada drishti, and have seen that others are not the source of one happiness, nor am I the source of their happiness. You also see simultaneously the reality that nobody is the source of your unhappiness either. Are they? Or aren't they? Your presumption is that other people are the source of your unhappiness, and then you waste your entire life trying to correct them for the sake of making yourself feel better. This is delusion. You are deluded. You don't even, how will you overcome your unhappiness when you don't even know the causes of it? You're presuming that other people, circumstances, situation, things, events are the causes of your unhappiness. Thus, it's attaining the right view and seeing the reality that you are the sole source and creator of all of your misery, your suffering, your sorrow, your dukkha, your unhappiness. And these are the dristis. These are the fundamental things you must understand. You must see your spiritual condition. And that will pave the way for the rest of the dristis. Something to say about any of the dristis before we continue? Yes?
Spell the mixed.
Mithya, M-I-T-H-Y. These are the fundamental understandings. If you don't have these understandings, beloved, you're not going to really be capable of any real spiritual practice. The reason that you are not practicing now, the reason that your level of sadhana is stuck where it's at now is because you are suffering from the absence of one or if not all of these dristis. You simply must find out in your own personal case which view you have failed to attain that is responsible for your present level of sadhana being in the pitiful state that it is at. Yes, beloved?
When you say that we are responsible for our own, I guess, suffering, are you saying
that, are you talking about how we respond to conditions? Or are you saying we actually create conditions that we then label as causing us suffering?
I'm saying both.
Both, okay.
Yeah, because it's that kind of a thing, beloved. It's such a profound revelation. You see, you created the karma that is producing all life. That's your karma. You created that. They are the result of your actions, you see. And then, purely from a phenomenological point of perspective, you are creating it by giving it your attention. You can't see me unless you give me your attention. It is attention that is the source and the creator of everything you experience. You can only experience that which you attend to. You see? So merely the failure to manage your attention makes you responsible for whatever experience you have via that attention. You see? So it gets really profound. It's a profound seeing. That's why I say you have to experience this drishti. This drishti is profound. To see that by virtue of your identifying yourself with this body-mind, you suffer all of the consequences, all of the things that must occur to this body, which the most obvious is that it will die. Being identified with the body, the feeling is that I will die, and you have to undergo all of the horror that is associated with that. But you only are suffering the horrors and the dread of the death of the body because you identify with the body as being self. That's your own activity. No one is making you be identified with the physical body. You follow me? Drishti is a profound matter. I am simply responding to a few of the obvious revelations that is associated when one has attained those drishti in respect to the drama of your life as it relates to your unhappiness, your sorrow, your suffering. When you have attained the drishti, you stop all this blaming others. All that ends. You see? You people tend to blame your suffering on everybody and everything else. It's always somebody else. What they have or have not done. Fortunate situation or circumstance that's out of your control. You see? You simply do not see you are the sole source of your own sorrow, suffering, and unhappiness. Your miserable condition is your own creation. Not seeing it is a sign that you are deluded. It is perhaps the most profound indicator of delusion. The presumption that others are the source of your happiness or unhappiness is perhaps the most ultimate form of self-delusion that a human being can suffer. And you are deluded.
So how do you know what marker is there that will let you know that you've risen above that? Is it because you just don't respond?
The cessation of dukkha. The experience of the cessation of dukkha. There is no intellectual formula. It is all
Things can happen, but you just don't.
There is no, the cessation of dukkha is the evidence.
For you,
For anybody.
for anybody.
Isn't it? That's what the Buddha said, right? Nirvana, the attainment of that state of consciousness where there is a complete cessation of dukkha. Doesn't mean that bad things are not happening,
Right.
but bad before. And that's what you're looking for, aren't you? That state. That's what everybody's looking for. But you're looking for it in a place where it don't exist. That state does not exist in the waking condition. That is not the result of a combination of anything that you are doing in the waking condition. It's not even located in the waking condition. This waking condition, beloved, is strictly about the body. We only have it for the purpose of eating and doing stuff necessary for the maintenance of the body. Beyond that, it has no other value or significance. It's just body-based. That's why you see animals spend as little time taking care of this body as possible. The rest of the time they are sleep, resting. You know, they hunt for 2 hours, ready to eat, and then they chill. Because what else is there to do? You see, but you all are busy, doing more than just eating and shitting. That's about the sum total of the function of the waking condition. It's about taking care of your body, meeting the needs to maintain the physical body, and that's it. It has nothing to do with the pursuit and the attainment of happiness. But you have no drishti. You have not seen things the way things really are. You are deluded. And you simply must be helped to come out of this state of delusion. That's the whole point. That's why we come to the path. We come to the path recognizing that essentially I'm deluded. I don't know what the truth is. I don't know how things really are. That's the presumption that drives a person to a path. You understand, you do not understand anything. That's the only thing you understand. I don't understand. That's the mark of a seeker, a spiritual aspirant. But you people are walking around presuming you understand. Not only are you presuming you understand, you are to instruct others in helping them understand. So you are contaminating others with your delusional madness. All in the name of being good company for one another. That's not satsang. That's what in Radha Swami metaphysics they call kutsang. K-U-S-A-N-G. Kutsang. That is the kind of company that reinforces your self-delusion. Kutsang. Satsang diminishes and undermines your self-delusion. You all have been having kutsang and not satsang. Except on very rare occasions. So you see, beloved, the whole purpose of satsang, the guru, the teachers, and so forth and so on, is to help those spiritual seekers who come to the path and who come to the guru to free their surit, their soul, their attention, from all of these various covers of delusions, the Maya and so forth and so on. You see, that's the whole function of the guru and the guru company. Has no other function. The function of the guru and his or her company is not to reinforce your delusions about yourself, but rather to engage you in a process of purifying your mind, freeing yourself of those delusions, you see. Sadhana and the initiation into sadhana is simply to engage the spiritual aspirant in a process designed to purify the seeker of their delusional states, to liberate surit from the maya, anavamala. I've talked to you about all of this stuff, from those coverings. in Radhaswami metaphysics, this process of which sadhana is a form, has been referred to as garhata. Garhata. Garhata is a kind of technique that is used to purify the spiritual aspect through beating, hitting, tapasya. It has been translated as hammering. So the guru function is to hammer. Much like a goldsmith, he go and beat it to get the impurities out of it. And something like that has to occur in our cases as well. We have to be heated up and beat in order to purify our mind of the delusions that we are trapped in. So Gahata, you see, is the principle underlying sadhana and satsang. Now, this garhata, this beating and burning away the dross, covering the surit of the spiritual aspect, this degree of hammering is based upon the type and the condition of each spiritual aspect. So listen up and locate yourself in the following schemata. Now, there's all kinds of types of people that come to the path. It's all kinds of people in this room. You are all not of the same type. You have the same goal and ambitions, yes. But you're different types of people here. Different types of spiritual seekers. You are at different levels. So if you want to know what your future holds for you in terms of the path, then today you'll find out. But you got to look forward to what you got coming based on your type. Because this degree of hammering, this degree of burning, heating and beating is directly proportional to the degree that the spiritual aspirant cooperates with the process of becoming enlightened. The degree to which you are beaten and hammered by the guru is directly proportional to the degree that you cooperate in the process of becoming enlightened. Ponder that for a moment and let it sink deeply within you. You see, beloved, every soul that has come to the path has been marked to come to the path by the Lord itself. You have not found the path. The path finds you. You have not found the Guru finds you. You are marked. Whenever the Lord wishes to recover his experience of his own svabhava, his own divinity, in any embodied being, that being finds themselves coming to some path and getting connected to the Guru process by which the Lord's grace, Shaktipat, Anugraha, burns away the dross, the dirt, that is obscuring the experience of being God in that particular person's case, you see. So when a soul has been marked, that process is going to unfold itself. You really have no option in the matter. Once the Lord has marked the person to be brought back into that original condition, once the Lord has, out of his own marge, decided to abandon his state of ignorance in that particular form, what can stop it? You don't have an option to be or not to become enlightened. You will become enlightened. Sooner or later. How much later depends on you. Now, of course, this is a bad analogy here, but nevertheless, I'm trying to communicate to you the fact that once the master has accepted you, the master is going to do his or her job. I used to say that you can go cooperatively or you can get dragged. But you're going. You see my point? You don't have any say-so anymore in the matter. A superior force has entered into your life that is much more powerful than your ego. And you will become enlightened. And that process by which your enlightenment is guaranteed is what constitutes and justifies the grahata, the hammering, the heating and beating. And how much you are heated and beaten, again, as I've said, will depend on the degree that you cooperate with the Guru in the recovery of your own original condition. Now, the first type of spiritual aspirant that you may see coming to the Guru is that type of spiritual aspirant who has a high degree of cooperation with the Guru. That kind of aspirant who has already seen certain realities. Their energy, attention, and time is already predisposed towards Aryasa. They are the very highest type. Just with his words, the Guru can correct that disciple's delusional state. Just the words of the Guru, the Bani of the Guru is corrective. Hearing it, the spiritual aspirant is able to correct themselves. You see, out of their delusional condition, they're able to give up their old accustomed ways. Mahadasi has become fond of that terminology, right? You see, you all struggle is that you can't give up your old accustomed ways. Your condition, your delusional condition. Because as Bhakti Maji say, you have become comfortable with it. In fact, you have become identified with it. And you just having a hell of a time giving up your old accustomed ways. Well, there is a type of spiritual aspirant who comes to the Guru who simply do not have any problem giving up their old accustomed ways. They give them up as easily as a snake gives up its old skin. They slide right out of their old accustomed ways. Simply on hearing the arguments, the discourses, and the body of the Guru. And then there's another type of seeker who comes to the Guru. this seeker is not able to give up and come out of their old accustomed ways merely by hearing the discourses and the arguments of the Guru. They are a little bit more deeply embedded in their delusional condition than the prior example. So the mal grahata of the Guru's words will not work in their case. The Guru's discourses and Bani is the most gentle form of grahata. It still has the same function, which is to purify your mind, but it's much more gentle, you see. But when that fails, in the case of the second type of spiritual aspirant, then that got to bump it up, you see. So what happens in that case is that the Guru will always keep in their satsang a few crude and coarse and uncouth individuals who will be used to hammer that person, ego. You will find in every sangha some initiate that is not very sensitive, very crude, very coarse, uncouth, and that and that radasi or that satsangi or that disciple is used as a tool, as an instrument by the Guru for pounding on the egos of that second type of person. I tried during the time of the great master, Huzur Maharaj San Singh Ji, Maharaj's Guru. There was a particular Bibi that was used expressly for that purpose, Bibi Raleigh. And Bibi Raleigh was an initiate of Baba Jaimal Singh. Her and the great master had the same Guru, so they were the brother and sister relationship. But upon the death of Baba Jaimal Singh, and when Baba Huzur Maharaj ascended on the Gadi, you see, well, he made Bibi Raleigh, you see, the head of the entire data. Bibi Raleigh ran it. And he chose Bibi Raleigh because that was his tool. Bibi Raleigh was a very coarse, crude, insensitive kind of individual, but perfectly devoted. You see, made her an excellent instrument. And it was known in those times that Bibi Raleigh would walk around a stick and she would literally beat people. She was rude. You come see the master and she'll ask you, what do you want? Do you know what I mean? She would not be kind. She didn't use sweet words, none of that. You know what I mean? She would hit people, kick people, put people out, all kinds of things. She was this kind of crude disciple that I mentioned, that the Guru keeps around him. They're tools, and he uses them especially for that purpose. To beat that illusion out of you, beat that delusion, because you have the delusion that you are this, or you have the delusion that you're that, you have the delusion that you're kind and sweet and patient. And the Guru would use that coarse instrument to beat you, so that you can see and realize you don't have any tolerance, because this crude, coarse, and uncouth individual will require great tolerance from you, right? And he uses that person to show you don't have any of this. And usually that, along with the Guru's Vaka teachings, discourses, is enough for that second type of individual to give up their old accustomed ways. and to come out of the delusion, you see. But there's another type for whom the combination of the Guru Vaka and use of a few coarse, crude, and uncouth disciples are not adequate to bring them out of their delusional and old accustomed ways. This third type of spiritual aspirant that you will find coming to the path is that type that is totally absorbed in their families, their children, their wives, so forth and so on. They are totally immersed in their personal relationships, so much so that they have almost no time, energy, and attention available for the sake of abhyasa. They are attached to their families. And so the Guru discourses, and even the use of the instrumentality of the coarse and uncouth disciple is not enough to bring this person out of their delusional condition. They're very much involved in this whole search for happiness within the context of their relationships with other people, places, and things arising within the context of their waking condition, i.e. Pinda. And they're very involved in that, to the point of utter and complete absorption of time and energy. They want to do abhyasa, but they just, for the life of them, can't find the time. They're so busy. You see, my wife, my children, my houses, my this, my that. You see. And so what the Guru now has to use is another level of grahata in that individual case, where now the very members of that individual's family are used as tools to hammer this particular type of seeker, where your children and wives start turning on you and showing themselves to be what they really are. You start finding out that they don't love you. You see? It's more painful, hurts, but it gets the job done. It disillusions you and bring you out of your deluded condition that they had loved you in the first place. You see? Because thinking that you were loved and thinking that you were the source of others' happiness, you had all caught up in all of that. You see? All of that drama of your personal relationships. This is why you see, beloved, the masters always recommend the householder's life, because that's an excellent source of creating grahata. You see? For the sake of that type of individual. They can be hammered via and through their own family members. And the grahata in that individual's case usually always take place through one of the members of their own family. The master will use some member in your family to break your heart, to break you down, to hammer you. You see? Crush you. And bring you out of your delusion. You're doing a good job. This is the person that does not cooperate with the process. They are less cooperative, you see. They are usually not receptive to the mere arguments of the guru, you see. And they are able to avoid the encounter with the tool of the coarse, crude disciple that the guru, they simply don't go to satsang. So with that individual, the grahata, the guru has to take another level, go to another level. And the guru simply co-opts the member of your family and gets the job done. You see? More painful, but necessary in the case of that individual, you see? And then, you see, beloved, and I'm not exhausting any of these, but I'm trying to say just enough about it so you can find out where you're at. You can find out why you are feeling the blows you're feeling, because you'll be able to locate where you were at. There's a fourth type of spiritual seeker that the guru has to work with, that is even less receptive than the prior type that I just discussed, who is even more embedded in Maya, delusion, who are even more reluctant to give up their old accustomed ways, who are more captivated by this phenomenon that is the waking condition, i.e. spiritual realm of Penda. This type of person that the guru has to work with only comes to satsang once in a blue moon. That's the first thing you know it's about. They tend to be caught up even in a more profound way in the world than they're merely at the level of their families. They're caught up in their careers. They're caught up in making money. They're caught up in their businesses, you see? They're caught up in the accumulation of wealth, property, material things, you see? They are very unwilling to cooperate, very reluctant to engage in the abhyasa. They're seeking worldly fame, want to be famous, you see? So forth and so on. They're trying to reform the world, and all this other kind of stuff, you see. And therefore the level of grahata that the guru has to resort to for the sake of bringing them out of their delusional condition, helping them to give up their old accustomed ways, obviously is much more radical, isn't it? So in that case, the guru does not resort to the corrective process of that person's family member, because that process is not effective with this type of person. This person is in far worse condition, you see? So the guru has to use those corrective agencies and processes that are existing in the society of that individual. The police, you understand? You see? He uses judges, doctors to send you illnesses. You follow me? He selects people in your experience who are merciless towards you, who have no sympathy with you. You see? Because the level of grahata that this person must experience cannot be delivered by your wife or your husband, because these people have too much love for you. We have to use somebody that don't give a fuck about you. Police, kick that ass. You understand? Some sickness, poverty, destitution, cutthroat competition. Follow me? That kind of corrective process becomes required for that type of person. They must be handled by heartless, cruel processes and agency that have no concern for that person's feelings whatsoever, because that's what it takes for that type. And as a result of them experiencing all of these problems that they will begin to have in their lives, you see, their money is disappeared, their health is destroyed, understand? Their fame is undermined. You follow me? Their businesses fail. Business partners cheat them. They lose money. They get in trouble with the IRS. You see? All kinds of means are made use of for the sake of hammering this particular type of individual. So that they may come out of their delusional state and give up their old accustomed ways. So this is a fourth type of person that you will find in the sun god. And remember, even in this tiny sun god, all of them are represented. You have some like that, don't you? Sure. Just lost in the world, and their careers, and then this and that. You see. And the only way to correct them is that you got to upset everything in their life. And I mean upset it to the point of almost mental breakdown. You got to break these people down. That's the one that the guru got to jump and grab around the throat and wrestle down to the ground, pry their mouth open and pour it in. Because they're trying to stay as caught up in the old accustomed ways as possible. And the master just destroys it all. Destroys it all. Takes your health, takes your money, take everything from you. So that you come out of your delusion. Now sometimes the leveling is not down. Sometimes the leveling is up. This is interesting, so let me say something about it. After all, there are people who are already in that condition who took so much pride in it. Right? They take pride in their poverty. They take pride in their sickness. You follow me? They kind of use that as a badge of deluding themselves into thinking that they're somehow great devotees. You see? Look how great I am. You see? I'm suffering, and I don't have this, and I don't have that. And look how devoted I am. You see? So in that individual, the guru levels them up. Now he sends them a bunch of money. And that shows them up. They take that illness away. Now what's your excuse? You see, I'm sick, but I really would meditate. See, deluded. And actually thinking that they're devoted in that condition. Takes that sickness away and give you help, and you still don't practice. Now you're able to slide out of that delusional condition. You found out. You see? You weren't practicing not because you were sick and not because you were poor and none of that. You were practicing because you were deluded. You weren't practicing because you are deluded. So he levels your situation up sometimes too, so it can go either way. But there's always going to be some radical adjustment. Are you following me? Mm-hmm. And the purpose always is to help bring that individual out of their delusional condition. And help them to see things the way things really are. Believe it or not, there's still another type. This fifth type is so deluded, so deeply embedded in their condition. Then grahata at none of the pride levels has any from this person. Neither the teachings and the arguments of the guru, neither the interaction with the instrumentality of the coarse, crude, and uncouth fellow disciple, can't use his or her family, can't use any corrective process in the world. For that individual, the grahata is to give them another birth. They have to be thrown back into Sharasi and crushed some more, grind some more. You follow me? Sharasi then is used. And the guru throws them back into Sharasi. To be grind by the call, ground some more. You see, give them another birth, another round of ass whooping. That's what it takes in the case of that individual. So you see, beloved, you can simply look at your own history on the path and easily locate where you're at. Can't you?
Yes.
You can also locate one another. Save you a lot of frustration because you won't be quoting what I'm saying, thinking that it's going to have any impact on that asshole over there. It won't. Something to say about it? We're going to have a blessing ceremony for Padavaka's grandson. You all are most welcome to remain if you like. So we still have a little bit more time before her sons and grandson gets here. So if there's something you want to say, anything that I've said thus far, you're most welcome. Yes, beloved, and then Taravataji.
Is there a type of seeker that can move through all of those?
Mm-hmm. There's a secret that can move through all of them.
Or can be like at different levels of their development, or
I follow what you say. For instance, is there the possibility to take a type 5 perhaps and correct them? Well, usually, beloved, by that time, all of the other methods have already been tried. So ordinarily, you see the guru always start with the most gentle form of grahata. Always, you see. Sometimes they don't even resort to the grahata in the form of their arguments, their discourses, their speech, or their bani. Sometimes it starts with touch, sparsa. It's one of the means by which the guru engages that disciple. Sometimes, if a person is sufficiently addicted, just the guru's touch or the guru's drishti, look, touch is enough. You see? Then, if that doesn't work, then the guru resort to speech and discourses. You see, and his or her written arguments. So the guru begins with his form, and then that degree of grahata is only increased based on the response and the cooperation of that particular seeker or devotee. But once the guru has used all of the lesser and less intense forms of grahata and has had to resort to sending that soul back in Charasi, then that soul is going back in Charasi. That's why 4 births or 5 births are talked about. Ordinarily, you see, beloved, in the mysticism of the ideal is that these births are really stages. And in the first birth, the stage of illumination that is aimed for is the attainment of perfect bhakti, perfect surrender to. And by surrender, I mean perfect cooperation with the process of enlightenment is given to us by the Guru. When we perfectly cooperate with that process, when we are surrendered to the march, to the instruction, when we're doing what Guru says we need to do to become enlightened, there's absolutely no resistance. That is, you have accomplished the entire work of the first lifetime on the path. You see? You have achieved bhakti, surrender. Even that is based on a drishti, though, you see? Such a bhakta has already had the view that neither themselves or anybody else they know is the doer of anything. That there's only one doer, and that is the Supreme Lord. They have had that experience, that drishti, that understanding, and so they can surrender. You follow me? Incorporate. You see, our reluctance to cooperate with the Guru's instruction, beloved, is fundamentally based on our presumption that we can do it another way, that we are a doer and we can do it a different way, you see. That is not the case with one who has enjoyed the insight, who have seen that neither I or anybody else that I know is the doer of any action, period. And on the basis of that, see, you see, great surrender falls. You discover that God is the doer. I guess that's the best way to summarize it. You have that revelation. There's only one doer here, right? One knower. You see, in Islam, you know, they say Allah knows best. You know, it's that kind of a thing. In Sufism, they call it Fana el-Allah. You see, you disappear into the will of the Lord. You see, you submit. You see, you submit to following those instructions for the sake of becoming enlightened or finding happiness. Even at the level of the search for happiness, you see. If I really understand that I can't find no happiness and somebody's telling me this is how you find happiness, if I have that bara, that belief and all that, then that's what I got to follow, isn't it? You see. So that's the goal of the first birth, you see. And the kind of full birth arguments that the Guru makes in the Raghaswami metaphysics. And there's a lot more that can be said about each of these births, but they essentially are stages of development, stages of illumination. If you will, they are degrees of enlightenment. There are different degrees of enlightenment. The goal of the second stage of the process of becoming enlightened is when the devotee is able to hear and thus become absorbed in the Shabad. Because they have been able to liberate enough time and energy from all of the various other things that we just previously discussed, and are now able to apply that energy, time, and attention to the practice of spiritual yoga. By virtue of that, they are able to contact that Shabad, and they become completely absorbed in that Shabad, you see. And that becomes the goal of the second stage of the process, is to become totally absorbed via attention in that Shabbatana. If you have accomplished that, you have accomplished everything that can be accomplished in the second birth. And you can do it in this lifetime. You see, I'm talking about how it looks in this single lifetime, if you're able to do all of this, versus having to string it out, you see. So in a single lifetime, this will appear in these stages. You will go through 4 births in one lifetime. And that's a paradox, you see, of the teachings. How can you go through 4 births in one lifetime? Well, they're really not physical births. They're stages of enlightenment, so forth and so on. So we can talk about that some other time. Does that help a little bit? Siddhanta Sa?
When you say that we have to experience our own delusion to really see it clearly. So at whatever stage that we're at, the delusion that we have to really pinpoint is that that is not really producing the pretending we have the gap.
Yes.
We actually have to see at whatever level we're at and all the activities that are going on at that particular level, that the appearance to be happy is
Just that. Just an appearance.
and you have to see, that's what you mean by experience.
You have to, that's what I mean, you have to really see it. And that's the function of the guru in our case, is to help us see that. The guru is that light that shines onto our life, that lights it up. All you got to do is open your eyes, you'll see it, right? That's the whole purpose of the grahata. You see my point? Because here you receive Dharma, right? Now you need to have the experience of that Dharma being true, right? An observation, this very disciplined observation gives you, beloved, the experience of seeing that this is so, right? You actually see this is really so. But you have to see that it is really so. And to do that, you must look. And that's what I mean when I say, beloved, that drishti has to occur in everybody's case, where you really see that this is really so. That it's not just rhetoric, it is really so. Until you see it, then for you, it will only be rhetoric. And if you are reluctant to look, then that will become a basis for the guru intensifying the degree of grahata in your case.
To the point where you can't help but look.
Where it's right in your face. The guru gets in your face. Gets in your face now. Where there simply is no possibility, you see, for you to remain in any kind of deluded state. But then that hurts. You see, sadhana hurts, but sadhana hurts only to the degree that you do not cooperate. Don't cooperate, gonna hurt some more. Yes, Anasava, beloved?
Yes, Master. Could you tell me, does this just apply to the initiates, or could this apply to someone who should be here but isn't here, or hasn't come here yet?
On the path, haven't been initiated, or?
Exactly.
Well, it's a system. Everybody's got to go through the process. Now, the person that may come to the path later may be of an entirely different type. You see, you don't know. You don't know. But what you do know is that that person too will have to be engaged in the process of purification of their surik, liberation of their surik from the clutches of mind and maya. You see, all of that process has to be done. How much and to what degree that person has to be heated and beaten will depend on that person's degree of cooperation, the quality of their seeking, their barak, you see. For instance, those of you who done overnight, I gave you an outline of a kind of hierarchy of barak, right? And you can look and see, right? Yes, Bhagwan?
Yes, Bhagwan, it seems like the wakeful state that we're in is, the propensity to believe in it, that's the spin the world gives us, but it's like we need to wake up from the awakening state.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right, beloved. And that's part of the process of purifying your mind of all of this kind of ignorance that is aimed at in the context of satsang. The whole purpose of giving satsang is trying to purify the seeker's mind of that kind of ignorance. You see, one of the malas is the mala of ignorance. The anava mala is fundamentally a mala that is consistent and made out of ignorance. Because it is ignorance to presume that the events, circumstances, and experiences that occur in the waking condition can in any way, shape, form, or fashion yield happiness and lasting fulfillment. I mean, that's just a straightforward reality to anybody that can see, but of course to the ignorant, then they can't see. And the Kalpurush has entrapped vast amount of souls in this kind of deep and profound ajana, ignorance of how things really are. Now you see, beloved, even those of us who have heard a little Dharma, don't we witness on a daily basis that somebody's dying, somebody getting wiped out in a car accident, or somebody going bankrupt, and we still walk around presuming that we are safe.
Okay.
In a world full of this kind of chaos and death and dying all around you, bullets flying all around you, and you strolling, you know, happy-go-lucky, like, you see, like it ain't nobody dying around here. Ain't nobody falling ill with irreversible illnesses. You actually think you okay. And that this is Disney World. And that you're going to have a good time down here. This is not Disney World. And you're not going to have a good time. Being alive hurts. Being in the waking condition hurts. I made that argument with you all in your private consideration, but you have to understand, you can hurt for the sake of becoming enlightened and go through this ordeal of the grahata of the guru, or you can just hurt from merely being alive, but you're going to hurt. In any case, you're going to suffer. But you are somehow, under the spell of your illusion, walking around actually thinking that you are in Disney World here. You think that you are in one of the higher regions. I mean, really. You know what I mean? Where there's noble souls. In fact, it's so funny when you come across murder, mayhem, injustice, you know what I mean? Brutality of a scale that is unimaginable. You are all shocked and say, oh, it shouldn't be like this. Let me change it. You thinking this is the astral realm somewhere. This is not the astral realm. This is not the causal realm. You understand? This is not Parbrahma. You see? This is not the Mahasum. This is not Saj Khan. This is planet Pinda.
Yeah.
You see?
For sure.
Suffering is here. Death is here. Everybody that comes in here is dying. This is a great furnace. Everybody's getting roasted. Here, we will show you nothing but great suffering, sorrow, and misery, and brokenheartedness. That's the place where you are at. And you walking around here, and you actually trying to repair. You're trying to attempt that which is impossible. You're trying to, trying to help you so you don't suffer. Here's some therapy, here's some pills. Give you operations so you won't die. You're going to die, I don't care how many operations you get. You're going to die. It's an illusion that you will survive. This is not, happiness is not located in the waking condition. And anything associated with it. It's not located here. What you're looking for is not here. It's not in this realm of consciousness. And you simply must see this. You must achieve ba'ada Drishti. You must simply see this. Otherwise, you will go on looking and looking and looking and looking for that which does not exist. And the great tragedy, you're looking for it in hell. You're looking for paradise in the realm of hell. Now, what can be a sign of any greater ignorance than that?
Okay.
So you see, beloved, we have to really understand some very fundamental things about the way things are in order to liberate the amounts of energy, time, and attention necessary to elevate and close the gap between your present level of sadhana And that level of sadhana that you know it's going to take if you are going to fulfill your goal within the context of this lifetime. Now some of you are already at that point where they're almost ready to be thrown back into Chirasi because nothing seems to be working on you. So it's up to you, you see. I have outlined for you on this day the possibilities of your spiritual destiny. But it's up to you. How much more beating you have to receive. Cooperate, okay. The beating subsides. Don't cooperate, the beating is going to escalate. And you think sadhana hurts now. Just wait and see what it feels like being hurled into Chirasi. That hurts. Something to say about it, beloveds? Not now.
Ain't said nothing now.
For me to stop talking, right? I can end this today, right? You see, almost all of the problems you are having in your practice of meditation at the time of sitting, the inability to concentrate and so forth and so on, almost all of that is the result of the failure to have seen things clearly. Now you will notice, for instance, when you sit in meditation, that all of this revelry is going on. And Radha-Swami metaphysics, they have called it Gunawan, G-U-N-A-W-A-N, Gunawan. It's a kind of revelry from the French rêver, which means to dream. And what you're dreaming about is coming up with some kind of way to find happiness in this level of consciousness. That's what you are constantly thinking about during the time of meditation. You're creating all kind of fantasies. And why are you creating fantasies? Because inherently, you already are having the experience that this ain't good enough. That there's no experience that is really occurring in your waking condition, right? In this level of reality, you really are not having any kind of real satisfying and deeply fulfilling experience. Hence, the necessity to fantasize in the first place. And you spend even most of your time in the waking condition fantasizing. So your situation is far worse. It's not like 24/7 you're about the business of inspecting everything going on out here, trying to find some happiness. No. Your activity is that most of the time you are even associated with this body. You spend fantasizing and creating an alternate reality in your mind. Even to this, where you are constantly playing back in your mind scenarios. You see, pleasurable scenarios, by engaging in which you are able to feel good. And this is all you do at the time of meditation. You're sitting, lost in your fantasies, indulging in your mental reverie because it is giving you pleasure. Dreaming is pleasurable, and you don't want to come out of it. You are actually creating and then engaging and indulging in Maya. You're creating it in the form of fantasy thinking. Then you get into your little fantasy and you are able to enjoy yourself because that's the only place you can really enjoy yourself, your tendency is to never come out of it. You're reluctant to come out of your fantasy thinking because then you arrive back to the reality of your condition. You want to luxuriate in that imaginary reality that you have created for yourself because it's so gratifying. And this desire to luxuriate and remain engaged in your fantasy is what looks like sloth. That's why you have sloth. That's why you are slothful and you're mentally slothful in your practice. Because you are dreaming. And everybody knows when a person having a good dream, does that person want to wake up? Oh, hell no. You don't want to come out of your mental reverie and do some simmering. Come on. You see? Parvakaji, is that one of your guests perhaps? Go see, beloved. We don't want them to just think we're not here.
You gonna wrap this?
If the guest is arriving, we'll start rapping. So this is gunawan. This is mental reverie. This is dreaming, spinning fantasy in your mind. And you're like that even when you're not sitting in meditation, you see? And when you are engaged in this maya that you are making, then what you are doing, you are reinforcing your own slothfulness. It will make you even more indolent. It will undermine self-control and all of that. You see? You wish to avoid any kind of work. Isn't that like it is? See, when you are off in that fantasy and you indulged in dreaming in it, you don't feel like doing no work. That's why fantasize and make people lazy. Notice something. There's a direct connection. That lazy-ass person is a person that is into a lot of fantasy, and they don't want to do any kind of work. In fact, they try to avoid exertion of any kind. Because exertion of any kind interferes with and interrupts their fantasizing. And then even deeper than fantasizing, there's reminiscing. That's really deep. Reminiscing. So these are the ways that our failure to achieve drishti shows up, practically speaking, in our practice. So even when you try to practice, you can't, because you're trapped in the consequences of the absence of basic understanding. Would you be fantasizing about the future if you really understood that no matter what happens in the so-called future of the waking state, you're not going to find it? Then your mind will not even run to it. Your mind is only running to this stuff because you really, deep down inside, are still convinced that somewhere down the road and with the right spin, you're going to find it. Otherwise, your attention will not run to that which is useless. The Drishti, you have to understand, is radical. It understands all of this is useless. This is useless and futile, underscored useless, without no value. Not a little value, no value whatsoever for the sake of becoming happy. None, not a little bit, not a tiny amount, not maybe,